peace. Happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. You're not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Right now, I want to speak about dealing with impulses. I'm also getting to how we should be following our impulses more so just staying out of our thoughts. I'm gonna get into the aspect about our thoughts, but just starting off, point blank period, with our spiritual growth, and what we're doing right now is learning to get to a place to stay out of our thoughts. Our thoughts is our thoughts in our brain, matter of fact, is an incredible tool whenever our soul is using that tool, but it is extremely detrimental when that tool is using our soul. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. Matter of fact, just gonna get into different aspects of dealing with following impulses, following your intuition, and how to know, because some people like, following impulses. Well, I don't know that I'm being in my ego, because that's one of the main questions that a lot of people, like, well, follow impulse. How you don't know I'm in my ego with my impulse? So I'm gonna share a few aspects, that might help you to, realize the situation a little better. I always speak of reflecting on the outcome, of course, and dealing with a journal, but just one aspect of it. So say, for instance, dealing with impulses, they come like out of nowhere. They come quick, compared to, like, I tell people most of the times, like when we in our thoughts, in essence, we consciously conjuring thoughts, like that takes a little time to say, I wonder if I should, do this, or I wonder if I should do that. Maybe, that's like you sitting there and taking time with that. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, the thought didn't just come out of nowhere. Like, you actually probably just looked at something and was like, But we're gonna get more into it. But like, say for instance, whenever the thought feel like it quantum leap into your brain, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like boom, out of nowhere, you got like this thought. And matter of fact, in most cases, again, like consciously conjured thoughts, in essence, they move slower than emotions. You know what I'm saying? Our emotions is like, energy and motion happen quick. I use the example of like, when whoever it was told me that my pops had transition. It's like instantly, like it's like emotions just like boom. It didn't even. It's like clockwork. I didn't have time like to. All right, I hear you. Give me a second. Let me get into sad mode. You know what I'm saying? Like it is not in a slow time interval time. But in a lot of cases, I conjured up thoughts by a conscious mind or egoic mind. It's moving slower than our emotions. So if a thought comes extremely quickly out of nowhere, in essence, it's more likely that it's an impulse from higher self. Because another thing too, higher self is vibrating on a frequency that's very, fast. Like, that's why sometimes it's hard for us to, connect with these downloads, because they coming in fast. And matter of fact, if we not in the habit of clearing our thoughts, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna get caught up in the wash with all those other little thoughts. And matter of fact, another thing, in essence, reason why impulses come in a flash, so they could try to squeeze in between all that negative noise of our mind. You know what I'm saying? Because we, again, in this practice state of being in our thoughts, and like, I wonder this or this and that, and just all in your thoughts. And matter of fact, shout out to Andre 3000, for the little verse, like, when you how you say, when you thinking too much, you're removing what's moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, the stream is taking us where we need to go, but whenever we go to thinking too much, we is like paddling back upstream, like trying to fight against the current. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, so you saying we just gotta walk around not thinking at all, like no thoughts? No, of course we're going to use our thoughts, but not letting our thoughts use us, you know what I'm saying? Because matter of fact, say for instance, all right for us to use logic. Say for instance, after following an impulse, we get to a situation where, all right, you got to be logical about it. Bring the logic into it a little bit. But say for instance, compared to where if that logic, came first, the logic will almost always negate your impulse. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing where you catch this quick thought or impulse, but then that's when your egoic mind thoughts, you know what I'm saying, your lower vibrational mind or ego thoughts come in and like, well, no, what if this? A matter of fact, based out of fear, because your thoughts in most essence when it's connected to your egoic mind, it's out of fear. The egoic mind fear being snuffed out, and it fears dying because your egoic mind or your ego in essence die whenever you stop identifying with your mind all the time, and whenever you stop identifying, or should I say, whenever you stop overly identifying, with certain physical aspects of your being, it's all right to identify yourself in essence, but just as long as as long as it's not being detrimental to to your spiritual growth in essence. But like again, the impulses come in this like a flash, but if you using your logic, so that impulse hit and then you go to using your logic, almost always your logic is gonna find a way to chop that up and like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Because matter of fact, in a lot of cases your impulses is gonna be illogical. Like, impulses to do certain things is not gonna be logical. The impulse to just go up to to this store and buy this picture, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's not logical. Why would I want to get up and go to the store and buy this picture? But when you go to the store and get up and buy this picture, you meet so and so that want to do business with you and ready to make this a business it's situations that may seem illogical that may be bringing you, not maybe, but in most cases bringing you closer to your soul purpose or the things you're always asking about. But again, in our thoughts, because matter of fact, a lack of trust and fear will always have us scared to trust our intuition. So another thing too is like a lot of people are in a constant, perpetual place of just scared to follow impulses, because because they, well, what if this impulse is bad? What if this, so basically what happened when you in that mind frame, your egoic mind then found a back door to keep that fear within you, but now from a spiritual perspective. So on your spiritual practice, you learn about following impulses, but then that ego like, all right, fuck, I've been snuffed out, and they sneakily vibe back here to like another fearful place, but more, because again, you snuff out the first floor of a building. You got like a bunch of floors to a building. You snuff out the person, like you kick in the door, you know what I'm saying, you go to the first floor, that person then ran to the next level. That's just how ego is. When we chase our ego, in essence, when we're aware of it, we're that's how we become closer to our higher self, because our ego has nowhere to run but up. When we come through the bottom door, come from the root chakra, we giving a shakedown, and bam, it gotta run to the next place, which is high ground. Then it got, you go to the next floor, it's like, shit, I gotta go to the third floor. You go to the third floor, it gotta run to the fourth floor. The next thing you know, shit, it's up there. And in order for it to hide, it has to, be completely in alignment with what's going on them higher floors or them higher levels, you know what I'm saying? So the ego works in that manner, or should I say awareness of the egoic mind, works in that manner where when we become aware, matter of fact, and I'm gonna get into that aspect of it, like where we become, we watch the thinker, we become the observer of our thoughts and not identifying with our thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Then that ego has no place to run. Again, like the analogy, like you kick in the door, on that first level by the root chakra, it's like Like you saw somebody run upstairs, like, all right, we gotta go to the stairway. You know what I'm saying? And to a point of where, you know, in essence, it don't really have nowhere to hide. But the whole reason why we fear going with the flow is basically because of our egoic mind being afraid of, you know, the unpredictability of, you know, going with the flow or following the impulse is very unpredictable, and our logical mind don't, you know, and our egoic mind, you know, so not only, you know, the ego, because there's somewhat of a difference, of course, like the egoic mind in most cases a more logical place, but you know the egoic mind could hide within the feminine aspect of things or the masculine aspect, you know, so they are different in essence, but logics kind of just stem closer to the egoic mind, because the egoic mind is about separation, you know. Put it like this: logic is a masculine aspect, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of, you know, deals with that energy in essence. To fall back because I don't want to. But again, you know, the whole reason. So if you like, and so another thing too, if you find yourself questioning everything, like, what if this going on? Well, what if that's going on? Hear yourself in your questioning. You know, sometimes we question out of curiosity, but sometimes we question them because the egoic mind just scared to deal with the facts, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, what about, you know, kind of like if somebody, like if I bring up this crystal is good for, you know, doing this and that, but what if it, you know, what if it do this negative thing? What if it do that negative thing? You know, realize, you know, if you in that line of questioning that you know, you're being negative first and foremost, you know, you're in that egoic mind of like being scared and fearful and negative about a situation, you know. So if you find yourself, you know, questioning everything, again, in a manner of like being scared, you know, like, oh, what if this and that, like, it's coming more from a, you know, a egoic place, you know. As a matter of fact, it's most likely that your fear is trying to find ways for this information to be wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like it's trying to find ways to keep you away from waking up yourself. So it's just trying to, again, your thoughts, like overthinking, like being in the thoughts about dealing with this information. Well, what if this, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to create more fear, like more, you know, trying to keep you down, you know, in essence. As a matter of fact, like dealing with impulses too, you know, there's a lot of cases where, say for instance, we have made we may have took like a quote unquote wrong turn in our decision making. So like our high self has to do something that's, you know, extremely illogical, you know what I'm saying, to get us to, you know, go in that you know, the direction we really want to go in, you know what I'm saying? But in order to do that, you know, it has to do something that is extremely, you know, illogical, you know, in essence. So too, that's another reason why, you know, like going with the flow may be something like where you're like, I don't know. Is again because it's just your logic mind and egoic mind is more tied to logic, because egoic mind is masculine and masculine is tied to logic. So that's why that area kind of coincides, you know. But again, you may have made like a quote unquote wrong turn in decision making, and again, it's no wrong or right, but just wrong in the essence. Again, that's why quotations, as far as like what your desired place of where you really wanted to go, you know. But again, when you're in your mind, your intuition was telling you to go this way, but you went with your thoughts and your egoic mind, you went the other way. And then when you got to that place, your intuition tried to guide you again, but you let your egoic mind take over, and then you went the opposite direction again. So, you know, by the time you do consider listening to your intuition, it's gonna feel extremely illogical, because it's gonna ask you, in essence, to do something that's gonna turn you around and go back to them places you passed up, and you're gonna be like, well, why? I'm going back to well, because you were supposed to stop there in the first place. It was your egoic mind, you know what I'm saying, that stopped you from dealing with what you're supposed to deal with, because your egoic mind had you thinking that it was too illogical, or this ain't, this don't seem logical. Because that's one of the things with following our impulses and dealing with manifestation is, a lot of times it will seem illogical, you know what I'm saying? It will seem like, it's not making sense. And like, unless the impulse is like just extremely detrimental to your spiritual growth, where you could just really feel like, well, and then in most cases it won't be like a quick impulse, it's gonna probably be like, it sat there and conjured up slowly, but unless the impulse is extremely detrimental to your spiritual growth, like, you should follow your impulses. It's in almost all cases, it's, coming from higher self. And another way to, do a check down on that, reflecting on the outcome. How did things turn out after I followed this impulse? As a matter of fact, where the journal work come in, you know what I'm saying? You see, all right, when I made this decision feeling like this would happen. I made it, and you'll start to see, like, all right, when I was feeling this certain type of way, things always, my following my impulses always went in the manner I expected, or the manner that, in essence, what I was really looking for. Even though at the beginning it seemed like kind of cloudy or stupid to do it, like, after I did it, I realized, like, man, this happened, that lined up, this lined up, had some synchronicity over here, and you start to see, and that trains your subconscious mind to follow your, to follow those impulses more, and to get out of a place of fear. Because again, if we are fearing anything, there's a awareness, but then there's like just fear of taking a step at all. That's our egoic mind, hindering our spiritual growth. Like in almost all cases. As a matter of fact, again, if you find yourself, and the reason why I'm doing this video, because I'm seeing people who, still not getting over, the thoughts, where it's a lot of people that's not sitting down meditating, they're not taking the power of now serious, in essence of just being in the now, but more so, meditating and clearing the mind. A lot of people think that, like being in your thoughts, again, because the habitual nature of what we've been going through and taught, it's like, oh, we should be thinking and being in our thoughts. It's like, no, like, we got a heart and an intuition that guides us. We don't have to always have noise up here going on to be doing what we got to do. And where people get it mixed up, matter of fact, the place where people, the egoic mind hides, the egoic mind disguises itself as curiosity, like, or I'm just questioning out of curiosity, but it's really like just fearful thoughts, like, well, what if, and what it is, and what, like, like that fearful mind, and then hid in a place of, oh, I'm just being curious about spirituality. But there's being curious, and there's always being in your thoughts about your spiritual growth. Like, I wonder if I'm doing this right. I wonder if I'm doing that wrong. I wonder, I'm in my thoughts. I wonder, like, meditation. I got multiple videos speaking on it, so I'm not going into meditation in this video. But meditation, you should definitely consider it. But that's basically it with following the impulses. Again, the impulses come in more of a flash, compared to those consciously conjured thoughts that kind of take a little time, And it's all right for us to use our logic and, to use our thoughts, but not to be used by it, And again, we're moving into a place of being, more true to our being. Like, remember, like, we've been in this trained system of, you gotta be logical, over scientific, over masculine in the way of, thinking and doing things. Moving into bringing more of a feminine vibe, in there to balance things out. But as a being, we will be, dealing with, logic in its proper manner. Let's just say it like that, where it's gonna be, second to our higher self, and our godly intuition, you know. And again, some of these some of these impulses will come as things that may seem illogical, and that's why I say, unless it's extremely detrimental to your spiritual growth, where your impulse is telling you to jump off a bridge into a barge with nothing but glass in it. I'm just being extreme out there, it's like, all right, nah, that's something that, what I'm saying? Like, of course, be aware on that level, because there is a factor of, again, the egoic mind being able to disguise itself as an impulse in essence. And say, for instance, if you're not paying attention to the fact that what you think is an impulse was more of a conjured thought that kind of took time, but you feel like, oh, it's a impulse, but it's really like some egoic mind stuff that got built up, and now it's causing you to, again, to be under the illusion that this was an impulse to do this, you know what I'm saying? But when you was, being in all kind of thoughts or something that led to that situation. But I think about like how I might have an impulse for things that may not be too healthy eating wise, but it's an impulse because it's something good for my body in the moment, or it's gonna create a certain situation again where it seems illogical, but it's gonna have me in a place like I eat that pizza, and say, for instance, the pizza don't cause my body to, and I'm talking about vegan pizza, of course, but like it doesn't cause my body to feel bad, so I need to get anything to heal it. But let's just say, or in my case though, let's say I get a vegan pizza, and I'm eating, then that vegan pizza, instead, because if I'd have ate like just an apple or orange, matter of fact, in my dogmatic mind of being spiritual, matter of fact, because even again, the egoic mind could hide in all different kind of places. But again, like when I go to eat this pizza, all of a sudden it's like, all right, dang, I might want a kombucha, to wash that down with, and I go get that kombucha. And now I'm meeting up with so-and-so who been looking for me and wanting to do a song with me. I've been looking for me and wanting to do this or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Compared to if I wouldn't have followed that impulse to eat that piece, and I would have stayed in my logical, dogmatic mind of like, oh no, be scared of that impulse. Again, fearful, like, oh no, like in a scared place, and like, I gotta make sure I eat an apple or orange right now, you know what I'm saying? And again, this varies between people on how illogical our impulses may seem, because we all on different parts of our growth. But again, in most cases, a quick little impulse to do something, is leading us in the direction that we want to go in. And remember, our spiritual growth a lot of times is about doing things that we may not, from an egoic mind place, or just, but just from a place of like, not wanting to grow, you know what I'm saying? Well, some things we will feel like it's like, I don't want to do that, or it's hard, or, you know what I'm saying? Again, illogical, but if, it's what it takes for you to grow to that place that you've been asking source since before you pick your bodysuit, or before you pick your parents and came down here, you've been like, I want to live this type of, vibe when I get here on earth, so that's what our higher self is, creating and doing for us, but whenever we get too much in our mind about things, and we, when we thinking too much, we removing what's moving, you know what I'm saying, straight up. And now to get more into the aspect of, dealing with our thoughts, from our habitual nature of what we've been taught, over these past recent lifetimes, and then with this over masculinity, over logical, over left brain type of society, we have this illusion that we are our thoughts, you know, because we have our, our soul being, intelligence through the consciousness of our soul. Then you got this bodysuit that has a brain and that, deal with thoughts. And now our higher self, communicates to us with thoughts again. But because we've been in our ego and in our egoic mind, and because we've been, under the illusion of thinking we are our thoughts, it's a whole different situation, you know what I'm saying? We're under the illusion that we are our thoughts, Matter of fact, unconsciously, identifying with it, unconsciously identifying with our thoughts to the point where we don't know we're a slave to our thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Here it is, people living these certain lifestyles, not realizing that they just unconsciously identified with their thoughts, the thought that your parents gave you that you gotta go to church, or that's a thought that was taught to you, outside of your body, not from inside of your body, from your heart, you know what I'm saying? So again, you're following, the unconsciousness of your thoughts, and not following your heart. Matter of fact, just to reach back to it again, the meditation. To the point where I'm almost not even wanting to answer. Like, I have to tell people, like, when they, oh, this and that happened. Well, what's funny, like, well, shit, if I was to start doing consultations, in essence, like, one of the only things I'll be telling most people is, like, shit, you just need to meditate. Like, because it's like, oh, I think about it. Like, well, shit, first and foremost, like, you need to meditate to stop even being in a place to, because because most of everybody dealing with, like, I can't stop my thoughts and this and that. And two, that's another thing. You're not going to stop your thoughts. What you're doing is, creating a situation where you're not identifying with your thoughts, So as thoughts pop up, you are the observer. You realize, hey, I'm source on a human experience, and sometimes this bodysuit or this brain in this bodysuit, I have some thoughts popping up from all the things that were taught since this human bodysuit been on Earth, but that doesn't mean that that's truly me. You know what I'm saying? It's getting into that idea of it, Like, but again, a lot of us may be trapped in our thoughts. And matter of fact, speaking to the aspect of like being trapped in our thoughts all the time, and not being no different from how some people like, oh, look at that crazy, quote unquote crazy person over there, talking to themselves and shit like that. It's like, well, guess what? When you're in your thoughts all the time, you're talking to yourself too. You know what I'm saying? And in that same type of manner, in essence, you're just not doing it out loud, But it's still like back and forth, like, you know what I'm saying? Identify with your mind. And in most cases, you'll find that, again, when we're in the now, we're in the moment. The only thing that exists is now. And if we do have a thought or whatever, then it should hold relevance to the moment. You know what I'm saying? So say for instance, if we rehearsing the past, we in our thoughts rehearsing some past situations, or we, overly imagining the future, we identifying with our our thoughts in that moment, and not with our being and not with the moment, So another, aspect, you start to meditate, you start to quiet the noise. And again, you're not going to stop your thoughts, but what you're doing is stopping yourself from identifying with your thoughts and stopping yourself from playing with your thoughts. And I always use the analogy of that mouse, sitting down, I said mouse, or like the cat sitting down, and and the cat is like, the higher self in essence. And you got the little mice that may run by, you know what I'm saying? That's like little thoughts, you know. And as those mice run by, you don't let that little lower nature of your cat self, like, oh, gotta catch that mice or that mouse, you know what I'm saying? It's not to fall into that lower nature or that, that way of things. Like, just let those thoughts or that mice, let it pass, you know. So you see one pass, just observing, you just observing them. Cause say for instance, the moment you go to scratch at one, the next thing you know, you're on the ground playing around, fumbling around with this mouse. Matter of fact, and then what an hour done passed and you've been fumbling with this one mouse and not, dealing with whatever else you had to deal with or whatever the case may be. But again, just an analogy of dealing with our thoughts, we allow them to pop up, but we not jumping into them, and dealing with them, you know what I'm saying? It's like letting them pop up and not playing with them. So when you first go to meditate, of course, like even down to where I'm at now, like when I go to meditate, there's still noise that'll pop up. You know what I'm saying? Like the only time I had my mind extremely quiet was when I was in a place where I wasn't dealing with my lower chakras, in essence, like where I was just completely like, almost like a, a cryo yoga yogi, in the mountains somewhere, like just as all my focus was just making sure, but then it was taken away from me being in my physical being and actually, doing things, and I saw like, there's a balance, you know what I'm saying? I could go way up there, but then I'm, got some physical aspects that, I want to do and take care of too. So I can't, you know what I'm saying, operate from just that place, it's like maintaining the balance with the meditation, as well. But again, the thoughts will still pop up, but it's like not grabbing them thoughts and playing with them, like if I go to meditate and because I just come from a function, say for instance, all right, the homecoming game for my high school, you know what I'm saying? And then I meditate the next morning, and as I'm meditating, little thoughts of shit little thoughts of things that happened in high school pop up in my mind, as I'm meditating, But I have that choice to, again, like just awareness, like watching those thoughts. So as that thought pop up, I'm just standing there like, compared to like if the thought pop up and you remember when this and that happened in so and so class, I could just it'll pop up like that, and then I just stay, in that place. Or when it pop up, man, you remember when such and such happened in so and so class? Oh yeah, man, it was like yesterday, and so was sitting right here, and then all of a sudden you just playing out this story in your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Like, and here it is, where you play with that thought, and now you done been in thought for like an hour, And as this may happen to you, there's another thing too, is not being mad at yourself, because you create more, of that, energy in essence. You just make it harder. Like, it's all right. You're gonna slip up at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nobody who walks into a weight room and just start off lifting 100 pounds. And just 100 pounds for that analogy. Of course, some people that might be actually strong, but just in the aspect of it, like as a little kid or whatever, just not going in there and like lifting 1,000 pounds. Like, no, we grow, you know what I'm saying? It's piece by piece, But it's becoming the observer of our thoughts, because matter of fact, like, are you chilling and showing your egoic mind, like the egoic mind might have a thought like, look at that person's shoes. Them shoes ugly like a mug. Like, what are those? You know what I'm saying? And that's your old egoic mind, just like having a little moment, little old trap session moment. But in that moment, you just observe. Matter of fact, you observe. Like, matter of fact, you probably could smile. Probably laugh at yourself like, look at that thought. That old egoic mind. You know what I'm saying? And again, not looking at, like, say for instance, as you're observing your thoughts, don't judge them or like look at them as bad or anything, because then you kind of you're recreating the egoic mind again, you know what I'm saying? So like as those thoughts pop up, don't judge it, don't be mad at it. Just observe. All right. That's the thought. Like, just continue to observe, not taking no side. In essence, just observe. You'll find yourself. But again, you'll be able to get more in this observant place through meditation. You know, through learning how to quiet your mind more. We're creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit. You've been in the habit of always being in your mind, so you have to sit down and get in the habit of not being in your mind. And that's where a lot of people feel like, well, and of course, I got, say for instance, I got certain aspects of the spiritual growth where I want to be lazy in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, do I have to do this as much, or do I have, you know what I'm saying? And with some cases, you don't have to do some things as much, but again, we all different, on how we operate. Some of us may need to meditate a little more because we could, forget to not be in our thought. Like, say for instance, some of us may have a lot of Gemini or Mercury energy, in our natal chart or whatever. So say for instance, we dealing with a lot of mind, a lot of air. So always in your thoughts. So people with that, they're gonna have to be a little stronger on their meditation and dealing with their mind than somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little different in that essence. But again, through the meditation, you become a better observer of your mind and be able to observe without judging. But sometimes you might have an old thought that that say for instance, you from an egoic place, you like, oh, I don't really vibe. But again, it's not about being mad at the thought or judging the thought. It's just letting the thought be the observer. Because if you go to judging your thoughts, then you right back in square one, being in your egoic mind, but just hiding under the identity of spirituality. Well, no, I'm being spiritual. I'm being in the now, identifying. It's like, nah, you been kind of let that ego slip into and now it's placing judgment on your thoughts. So like it's fake observing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and throwing judgment on it. You want to be able to observe without judgment. As a matter of fact, the thoughts begin to lose their power, over us the more we practice the habit of, being an observer and not identifying with our thoughts, like, because we are not our thoughts. We use them, but we are not them. I mean, the closest to our thoughts being us is just the aspect of, yeah, God is all that is, you know what I'm saying, in that essence. But now, for the understanding of what we're doing here, in our spiritual practice, we are not our thoughts. And of course, once we get to this place of, where we disempower the egoic mind and empower our soul, then again, it's not like we trying to get rid of thoughts. It's just making sure, we're not having this forgot the name, incessant, but like just the constant egoic mind noise, because the reason why people, may struggle with manifestation is you can't manifest things or even say an affirmation properly if you constantly got, oh, I gotta pay this bill, oh, so and so ugly, oh, this and that, oh man, I gotta worry about this. What about this? Like, how can you even, operate, and again, all this thought, our thoughts and words manifest into the physical. So if we still in the habitual nature of our thoughts being everywhere, then our physical manifestations are gonna be, everywhere, just like our thoughts, as above, so below. But yeah, definitely want to just get into that place of observing. And again, as we speak to what is ego, because again, you got a healthy aspect of your ego. I always use Terrence McKenna example. You gotta, I gotta have an ego enough to know that when I get hungry, instead of taking the spoon and putting it in somebody else's mouth, I take the spoon and put it in my mouth because I know that this vessel is hungry. I have to identify with myself that much. But is that something detrimental? Like, no, I, gotta feed myself, so I gotta know, I gotta identify with this bodysuit enough to feed myself, and I gotta identify with this bodysuit enough to not put it in dangerous situations because I'm trying to, not trying to, I'm using this bodysuit to, to allow this consciousness to occupy, the physical realm in a more hands-on type of way. You know what I'm saying? So again, with the ego, awareness to keep your bodysuit intact. Again, I just did a video on that, like, well, I don't necessarily consider it fear in essence, but to a certain extent, though, it's like a fear in essence of, like, just making sure, I don't harm my bodysuit. Because again, identifying with my bodysuit enough to protect it, enough to sustain myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, the ego does serve that purpose, but again, it's when, so the ego that is always talked about. Matter of fact, I kind of got this which this is the definition, but I always like to just cite my my references. Matter of fact, come from the book. I told y'all about this book a million times. Matter of fact, that's the thing too. Matter of fact, I could place a bet that less people would have to ask me questions and watch my videos if y'all read this book. I'm not trying to be nobody guru. I'm not trying to be your priest or preacher. I'm not trying to have you come to me every Sunday and this and that. Like, I want you to be just as great as I am. You know what I'm saying? And learn this information just as good as I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? If not better. Again, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not trying to create this preacher congregation or guru student vibe. Some people vibe in that manner, because that's, they still kind of close to their traditions or whatever, to each his own. But for a closer vibe, to that inner source, want to get away from looking at it in that, in that manner, like, oh, I need a guru, or I need, like, nah, the guru is inside of you. But with the ego, the ego is basically false self, the unconscious identification with mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, identifying that, I'm, because again, it's all right to have a healthy part of, your identification, but when you just, like, so say if I'm black, or I'm a technician, I'm a engineer, and then that all I identify with is being a black person, being a technician over here, being this, being that, being a parent, being somebody's son. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all right to recognize these things as an aspect of, like, yeah, this is part of your your physical existence. But whenever you identify with it, like, like overly, like, oh, well, no, that's all, like, I'm black, and I'm I'm a computer technician, this and that, and, I'm like, and you don't recognize your higher self, you don't recognize your inner source, then that's the aspect of the ego, or over identifying, that will keep in this matrix, because you don't realize that you're more than this identity, or these identities that you have in this matrix or in this game. You're not CJ, you're not Smoke. I'm talking about San Andreas. I always use San Andreas reference. You're not the characters from the game. You know what I'm saying? The person holding the control. You the being holding the controller. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the identity within the game. So it's just always having that higher knowledge of that. So when I'm talking about taming the ego, because again, we're not killing the ego, and we're taming the ego, we just taming that false self, and to a certain extent, getting rid of that aspect of the ego. You know what I'm saying? And that unconscious identification with the mind. As a matter of fact, again, when you When you unconsciously identifying with your mind, then you know you're a slave to your mind. You look at people who are slaves to all the things that they were taught. I go to church because this is what I taught, and how they not getting the spiritual connection of like what they really know exists and what they really looking for. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because they trapped in their egoic mind. Mama say go to church. That's what my thoughts. That's what I identify with. So that's what I just. Instead of going with my heart that's telling me that, that may be telling me that church is bullshit and that my body is the temple and that I could talk to God at any time. You know what I'm saying? Like you ignoring that voice because you're trapped in the unconscious identification of like, well, this is what I was taught and this is what my mama say or my daddy say or grandmother say or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you caught in that identification mode. Because we're dealing with our parents too, like they're only going to teach us from the area that they know of, you know what I'm saying? And with them being in a place where they were, especially us being in the South, taught by the egoic mind, and over masculine left brain mind of a slave master, then if you just identifying with what your parents taught you, with their thoughts, then you're not identifying with your true essence. You know what I'm saying? You're identifying with some ideas that come way from somebody else's mind that didn't trickle down to your parents' mind and not trickle down in your mind, and that's not the true existence. Kind of like again, when you gotta go to church, this and that. Matter of fact, being young and you gotta go to confession, then automatically it's like that inner self was like, that don't seem, what I'm saying, like that inner voice came up. And matter of fact, also be aware again, just how the egoic mind is always trying to hide behind your spiritual practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, say for instance, not only it done hid into a place where you identify as a vegan, but now it's back to again false self or unconscious identification with the mind. I'm a vegan, and all people who don't eat meat should be ashamed of themselves, or they ain't shit because they eat meat, and it like you fall into that same false self, because now you're not identifying. Because say for instance, if you identified as the source that you are, then you would know better, and you wouldn't look at those people as like, oh, they. Matter of fact, again, you would be looking at it like, oh well, no, this is all. I am source, so this is all reflections of myself, you know what I'm saying? Compared to like, oh, they eat meat, like, well, no, that's the reflection, that's the meat eating aspects, of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no difference. Of course, we operate in different body suits. Of course, I identify with my ego enough to, feed myself, but not to a place of like, again, where it's like, oh, look down on those people. They not vegan. I'm vegan. I do this and that. You know what I'm saying? It's like identity. Matter of fact, it may seem like the ego may seem like it's cool with the present moment, but it's really reducing the now or the moment to a means to an end. And a perfect example of that is like I could be meditating right now. So I could feel good, you know what I'm saying? I'm meditating because that's what I feel like doing, and because it makes me feel good compared to meditating so I could become a guru, I'm trying to, I want to become this guru, or I want to do this in the future, you know what I'm saying? Then meditation becomes a means to an end, where you're not meditating, enjoying the now, like being in the now of your meditation, and all that exists is just the now of my meditation, like that's it, compared to like, man, I need to go sit down and meditate, man, because I'm trying to get to this certain point. By this certain point, it's like just be in your now, because right now, if you look around and now you're not making fireballs pop out of your hand right now, whatever, then that's what it is for you right now. That's not for you yet. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean for you again to rush to this egoic play. Like, I want to make fireballs pop up, so I gotta hurry up and rush and do that. You know what I'm saying? Because another thing too, dealing with our abilities, you know, is for a service of man anyway. So, you know, if again, if it was meant for you to be highly, you know, for your metaphysical abilities to be at a high point, it, you know, it would be there now, you know. So, again, the ego may try to, like, hide in that place of like, all right, yeah, I'm comfortable with the moment, but it's only being comfortable with the moment because it's gonna turn the moment into a means to an end. So instead of just being fully in the moment, you're looking at what you're doing as a means to an end. You know, like instead of fully being in the moment of doing a video, like I'm doing this video because I just was inspired to do this video right now, compared to like, I'm gonna do this video because, man, I'm looking for a little extra change and I wanna, you know, hopefully somebody, you know, give me a donate. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't work like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing it for a means to an end and not doing it because I love it in the moment. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. You know, because matter of fact, you know, now in essence is the future, so you don't have to focus on the future. You know, you focus on the now, you focus on the moment, you don't focus on the means to an end, or, you know, just be in the now, you know what I'm saying? Because the main thing that's really harming a lot of us on our spiritual growth is just overthinking it. You know, being too much in our thoughts. It's all right to be curious about things, but sometimes the curiosity could hide under the false pretense of fearful asking. You know, like there's a kid that consciously might want to ask questions about, and you could tell because it may be coming from a fearful place. You know what I'm saying? Of like, you know, asking, like, again, seeming curious, but asking out of fear in essence. You know what I'm saying? Like the curiosity in essence comes from a fearful place. That's, you know, again, that's not the healthier aspect of our, you know, existence. But yeah, just again, when we thinking too much, we were moving was moving. Of course we're going to use our thoughts. Of course we're going to use our logic after we consort with our inner being. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. What would know best for a situation? The part of the body that's, you know, on the ground in the field, or the part of the body that's, you know, higher up that could see the whole situation? You know. And again, first starting off, you know, of course you could be like, you know, it could seem like, I wonder if these are impulses or this my ego. And again, one of the ways to find out, reflect on the outcome. How did things turn out after you followed your impulse? You know, that'll give you an idea. But again, in most cases, following our impulses, going with the source within, you know. Like, unless the impulse is extremely detrimental to your spiritual growth, where you just feel like nah, this is, you know, the ego, the master, like, you know, if you really feel the vibe of it, you know, then, you know, as far as it being detrimental, then you may not want to follow that impulse in essence, you know, because at the end of the day, it is what feels right, you know, it feels good to you. But again, I'm telling y'all, a lot of the most people, impulsing is not gonna feel right because your egoic mind is scared to deal with unpredictability. You know what I'm saying? So again, you know, some of these things that may feel, you know, like, oh man, I can feel like I don't want to, you know, it's more so out of the egoic mind being scared to do it, because it knows that it's gonna continue as you continue to follow impulse and follow your intuition. Say, for instance, again, it may start off a little bumpy, because you're coming from a place of always dealing with your egoic mind. But it's going to continuously get better, and that's another reason why your egoic mind is trying to have you scared of the situation. Like, oh no, like, you know, what if it's my egoic mind that's impulsing me? Matter of fact, that's your egoic mind damn near asking that question. You know what I'm saying? To a certain extent, you know. It's like, again, anything that just has a soul, like, I'm scared, like, you know, fearful, you know. A lot of cases is coming from our lower nature of our egoic mind, you know, not from our higher self. But meditation, meditation, meditation. You know, definitely, you know, get with it. You know, to calm that noise of the mind down. But that's basically it. Because for the most part, just what I could feel with most people what would be their question is just, you know, how could I know, you know, that this is my, you know, higher self and not my ego trying to bullshit me? Because again, Universal, you speak on the ways the egoic mind try to bullshit us, so I don't know it's trying to bullshit me in that, you know, in this mode. You know, again, it's cool to have the awareness of that, you know what I'm saying? You're right. But alright, one thing you could do is reflect on the outcome, you know. Follow the impulse, even if it seems like it, like maybe. And again, we down here to experience anyway, so like, you know, you might as well experience while you still can. That's another thing. Like, you notice how like it's easier for us as above so below, like, well, it's somewhere the same, but like when we youngsters on our growth, you know, say for instance, it's easier for us to deal with fuck ups when we're younger compared to when we older in essence. So like, experiment and deal with shit while you still can. You know what I'm saying? While it's still, you know, not detrimental to the big picture, you know what I'm saying, in essence. You know, still, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, say, for instance, like, well, experiment as a little kid, you know, playing sport, like, I got these stitches, you know, at a young age. I bust my face up, learned, like, all right, I shouldn't run around corners, you know. Like, you know, like, experience, you know, like, being wild, like, you know, eating. Matter of fact, I gotta do a video about that, but, like, you know, as I started my vegan journey, you know what I'm saying, I actually tried meat while I was on it to see what I would, you know what I'm saying, it's like experimenting, experiencing, you know, the situation, you know, instead of just sitting there like a duck in the, you know, in the water that's just like, I'm just gonna not experience anything. And then when something does come to you, you know, you feel like you're going through a living hell because you haven't been, you know, just being, you know, like, you get to this place of being scared to, you know, to experiment with doing these things. Like, again, like, well, I don't know, I'm scared to experiment with following my impulses. And matter of fact, again, if you find in all kind of ways to be fearful of following your impulse, then in most cases, you know, that should tell you that you should be following your impulses, because that's your egoic mind creating that fear, like, and trying to reinforce it to in your consciousness, like, well, no, you know, you should be scared of following impulses, man. You never know what could happen. And like, bro, we never know what could happen with any parts of our growth at any times, you know, in essence. So why not follow this impulse and see what, you know, where it takes you in essence. Because again, as you start to, and again, with the constant meditation and constantly, you know, following the impulse, they're gonna just get, you know, stronger and stronger. The egoic mind and all that noise is gonna come more quiet and quiet. You're just gonna find yourself being able to go with the flow more, you know, using the logic, using the thoughts, but not letting the logic and the thoughts use you. You know, you get analysis paralysis. Matter of fact, that's why they create, you know, these situations with the food. Like, say, for the food, you got so many options, you know, so many choices. You get this analysis paralysis because you're all in your thoughts instead of going the flow, like where you went to the store and like I'm going to get this kind of bar. I want this flavor and I know I want this flavor. But then when you get in there, you know, you kind of somehow fall into the egoic mind and or get into a place of, because you, matter of fact, cause we so used to second guessing ourselves, our intuition, you know, higher self done gave us the move like, hey, I'm gonna get the blueberry loud bar. But then when I get in the store, you know, the egoic mind like, oh, but you know, look at this different flavor, but what if, and all it, you know, and just all this extra shit come in, you know what I'm saying, negating you from the place that you was already, you know what I'm saying, you were smoothly going through, you know what I'm saying. But and you know, ironically, you know, for men on the masculine level, you know, we are less psychic or intuitive because we don't deal with our emotions, you know, but we want to become, you know, more intuitive, but again, intuitive or going with the flow, so it empowers our masculinity, because a part of having a strong masculinity is being decisive, you know, and not being indecisive, you know. And again, like in a oxymoronic or ironic way, you know, we use our intuition, you know, our feminine aspect of ourselves to tighten up a masculine aspect of ourselves, which is decisiveness, you know what I'm saying. So you see how that works as well, you know, because I definitely had to catch myself and be aware of that one time where, you know, I was dealing with a queen, and you know, it was like, you know, what we should do. And I felt as I was being, you know, like I felt like my higher self was like, you know, like that's you know, like it's a lack of masculinity, you being in this vibe, you know. It's like you need to tighten up on that decisiveness. Matter of fact, to a point where I kind of caught it in that moment, like, all right, we're just gonna go here, you know what I'm saying? Like, be decisive or something, you know what I'm saying? Because too, females, whether they know it themselves or not, you know, they're looking for, you know, a male who, you know, who's decisive decision making, you know what I'm saying? Because they, you know, dealing with their emotions and going with the flow of their intuition, you know, that masculine aspect is there to be, you know, that decisive kind of, you know, logical guidance in essence. And again, as I say, logical, but you know, just, you know, being decisive, that decisiveness to that, you know, that feminine energy. That's why you see a balance. So again, I'm not saying we're not using our logic and not using our thoughts with our impulses, but we're not allowing the logic and the thoughts to, you know, build up first and block the impulses. You know, and not say build up first, but like as we get the impulse, we're not bringing logic and thoughts in at that moment and chopping up our impulse. You know, because think about it, how many times I done impulse to buy, you know, my laptop, my just different things, and then my thoughts and my logic was just finding different ways to try to talk me out of it. And again, because we've been in the habit of our egoic mind being like that, we gotta, you know, work our way out of it, and it's gonna always have that aspect of tearing down our intuition. So if you're not working on walking in your intuition, then you're constantly gonna be, you know, battling it out with your, you know, your logic and your thoughts. You know, you have to at some point jump and trust your intuition, you know, because we're moving to a place where, again, we're operating more through our intuition, more through the Christ consciousness of our, you know, that understanding of our heart consciousness, you know what I'm saying? More from a intuitive feeling place than a overthinking place, you know what I'm saying? You know, again, not to a place of becoming over feminine. You know, the feminine vibe is coming in strong so it could balance out the masculine vibe. You know, but as beings, we definitely gonna be more tapped in to that feminine aspect of, you know, just being more intuitive. But again, our logic is gonna become, you know, the masculine energy is gonna be divine too, because now we're gonna move to a place where our logic and our thoughts are still used, but it's no longer hindering us. Like it's gonna be in balance with, you know, the intuition, because as above, so below. You know, just as the unseen feminine aspect, in essence, for lack of a better word, came first, you know what I'm saying, or preceded the masculine energy. That's the way it does in the way we deal with things, you know, like the feminine aspect of intuition or impulse comes in first, and then, you know, we could use the thoughts and logic, you know, second, you know. Be first, you know what I'm saying? Then act and do other things second, you know what I'm saying? About be. No matter of fact, like you got an inner purpose and an outer purpose, and it's all about the inner purpose at the end of the day. You know, if you don't become a Fortune 500 person, or if you don't, you know, start the business fully in the way you pictured, or if you don't, that don't stop you from taking care of your inner purpose, which is just staying in alignment with your inner being and knowing that you are a source on the human experience. You know, you good. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, yeah, I didn't really get to do things in that manner I pictured in my outer purpose. All right, cool. But another thing too, to not feel guilty and not, you know, judge yourself over it. All right, I got to where I was at with it. Cool. Like, as long as I got this inner purpose, you know what I'm saying? That's the, again, you know, that's the more important aspect of you know, at the end of the day type of vibe. Of course, you know, the outer purpose is it has its importance, you know, but that inner purpose is, you know, the basically somewhat of the end all be all. But I digress. Matter of fact, don't forget, only if you like the videos, you know, and please hit the like button if you like the video. You know, if you enjoy the content and you were first, you know, it's your first time coming to the channel, you enjoy the content, you know, feel free to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell button, you know, that gives you the notification. As soon as I, you know, do a video, you'll know exactly at that point when a video drops. And if you appreciate, you know, the information, you know, in general, all donations is greatly, and then all donations is greatly appreciated. I don't have this aspect rehearsed, so that's why it's so chopped. Like, you know, because again, back to what I said earlier, you know, too, and which is a balance for me, you know, because of course, like I'm doing this video for doing this video, but it's the balance of making people aware of that, you know, of donations and things of that nature. So, you know, like it's having a certain confidence level about, you know, dealing with the abundance. Because again, as a spiritual, you know, people, you know, we fall into this vibe of thinking because I'm dealing with spirituality, I shouldn't be charging for what I do, or I shouldn't. Like, no, you know, our time is energy. You know, what we putting into the, you know what I'm saying, to sit down to talk for an hour on a video, you know what I'm saying. Matter of fact, like, I don't know how many hour-long videos I got, but, you know, and over 900 videos, you know what I'm saying. Like, that's you know, time and energy, and you should be compensated for, you know, energetically for what you do. You know what I'm saying. That's just point blank period. You know, in order for you to continuously, you know, pour some juice in other people's cup, you know what I'm saying, your cup gotta be running over. You know, you gotta be sustaining your cup. You know, you can't be having this much juice left and then trying to like what. And then at that point, you know, like, what are you pouring up? Like, matter of fact, that juice was gone with that first that first person. Like, you ain't pouring shit. That second person just went to the motions of like, well, you know what? Ain't nothing in your cup no more, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, there is that aspect of you know, so to any and all, you know, people dealing with, you know, if you're dealing with a spiritual practice, of course we're gonna allow for, you know, things to be attainable to a certain extent, but it comes to a point where, you know, you got to make sure you're compensated, you know, energetically for the energy that you put out. You know, money ain't nothing but energy, a current, a currency, a current is a flow of energy, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all it is. You know, and as you make sure the current flows outside of you, you know, you got to make sure that current flows back into your being as well, you know. But again, any and all donations greatly appreciated, but on that, you know, you resonating with the information, you know, you feeling the vibe, you know, it's really helping, you know, And the donation link is under in the little description part of mostly all my videos. And if you're on YouTube on your desktop, it's in the top right corner when you're looking at your screen. Like you'll see like the Instagram icon, Twitter icon, and then you'll see like a little PayPal icon as well. You know, you click on that, but that's basically it. Appreciate the love and support as always. You know, matter of fact, regardless of the donations or not, you know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing too. If I see that, you know, hey, say for instance that this is not, you know, I'm not able to sustain myself in this platform the way I'm doing it, then it's up to me to just go, you know, do things that really, you know, manifest the money, you know, in a more straightforward manner. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't, it would be you know, me directing the engine in the wrong place to feel like, oh, I gotta squeeze a donation out of everybody for every bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And matter of fact, I should go start me a Patreon if I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. You know, you don't. It's like really being authentic in the essence of that. You know, like if you really wanna, you know, if you see whatever you're doing, the way you doing whatever, like, you know, whichever way you're helping the, you know, giving off the spiritual vibes, or you're dealing with spirituality in whichever way you're helping, you know, you just man, I forgot how I wanted to say that quick. But just know that, you know, in order to continuously give out energy, you gotta make sure energy coming back. And that's what I was gonna say, and just make sure that, you know, if you're in a situation that's not, you know, compensating you, you know, where the compensation of energy is not mutual in essence, and, you know, make sure that the platform or whatever you're dealing with, make sure that the energy is compensated equally. In fact, in essence, like, you know, with me having dealing with bracelets, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's one way where it's like no matter what, and then and plus in my mind I don't feel bad either, like that old mind frame of feeling back. I'm like, no, this is good ass crystals. I combine them great, you know what I'm saying? And two, you'll start to see where, you know, it's a certain confidence level, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, well, if I was, say, for instance, making videos where I knew I wasn't doing my best, then I wouldn't feel, you know, comfortable speaking on donations. Why? You know, matter of fact, again, confidence, solar plexus, and manifestation, you know, like, if I'm confident in what I'm doing, then, you know, I'm confident to say, you know, hey, this deserves this amount of currency or this amount of currency, compared to if I'm you know, not confident in what I do. So it's like, oh no, I don't want to charge, you know, because I'm not confident in how good I am and what I do, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like me right now, you know, building my confidence up, dealing with consultations. You know, it's like you know, knowing you could do it, but you gotta, you know, be confident in what you do in order to, you know, to manifest in essence. But that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. We're not going too far in the past. Right now, vibrate. Peace.